Lesson 30, we're going to have a look at a model that reflects the subtle anatomy of the human being and a connection with the universe. I'm going to draw it on the board. It's a yin-yang model according to Ajita's insights that basically becomes endless. It starts with Purusha, which is the soul, which is the connection that we have with the universe. Within Purusha, we find what is called Avyakta. Now, Avyakta is a concept that's very difficult to explain, but we call it the unmanifested self. Now, when I asked Ajita to explain the unmanifested self, he said, I've asked my mentors to explain Avyakta, the unmanifested self, and it is so vague to properly explain it that it's better not to even try. But the best that I can do to explain Avyakta, unmanifested self, is that there is the potential, which is your characteristics, but they haven't manifested yet. They are not expressing themselves yet. Which happens, of course, in the next shell. And the next shell is what we know as Atman. Atman is the self with a capital S. So it's the self that many people are not aware of. Because the way that most people manifest in the modern world is based on identifications. Identifications that relate to the culture in which we are born, the education that we undergo, upbringing, the family, our family name, all kinds of identifications that actually have nothing to do with Atman, or the real self with a capital S. But the real self, or capital S, is something that almost all yoga practitioners discover as a result of the yoga practice, leading to increased consciousness and sensitivity, and the development in Svadhisthana Chakra, the center or the seat of the self. So that's called Atman. And within Atman, we will then enter into a little bit more familiar terrain. Within Atman, you have what in Sanskrit is called Karana Sharira. Sharira means body. But Karana means the spiritual body, or the causal body. Causal because it is the start of the manifestation of you. The causal body is the crown chakra. Within Karana Sharira, we then find Sukshma Sharira, which is of course the mental body. Within the mental body, we then find Sthula Sharira, which is of course the physical body. And as you know, within the physical body, within Sthula Sharira, we find 5 more separate bodies, which are the 5 chakras. So this model just continues. Vishuddhi Chakra, Anahata Chakra, Manipura, Svadhisthana, Muladhara. Now when you contemplate this model, a very intriguing realization occurs. And you realize that we are a universe within a universe. This is the model of the human being, but we are part of the universe, a body within the universe. And the universe itself, we think, that is the biggest body that is around. Within, there are galaxies. Within the galaxies, there are solar systems. Within the solar systems, there are planets. Within those planets, we find life, organic life, of which we are part. But how far does this go? Up and down the model. This is mind-boggling if you think of it, if you contemplate it. Because that universe that we think is the biggest body that we know of could be just a small part of another big body. Just like we, as a universe on our own, are just a very tiny little part of our solar system, or the galaxy of which the solar system is part, or the universe of which that galaxy is part. And on a microcosmos level also, our body is full of other bodies. Each and every cell is an organism on its own, a body on its own. And there are billions of cells of which we are created, like there are billions of galaxies in the universe. And there's a video on YouTube that is titled The Powers of 10, which gives a little bit a reflection of this, where the camera films a couple in a park, lying on a blanket in a park in the sun, and it then zooms out into the universe every time by the power of 10. So it goes 10 kilometers, then it goes 1,000 kilometers, then it goes 100,000, a million, 10 million, up to very high, up into space. And it then reverses and it zooms in and it goes into the microcosmos, into the cellular structure of those human beings lying on the blanket in the park. And what you see is that when you zoom out and when you zoom in the end what you see is the DNA coil in the universe on a macro scale, on a mega scale, and within the cell structure of the human being on a super fine micro scale. This is very intriguing. It's a short video, maybe 5 minutes, but very very much related to what we're looking at here. And the same as contemplating this model, leading to questions like, how far does this go? How many bodies or universes exist that we still have no knowledge of or have no technology to make visible yet at this point in development. So the purpose of this model is to help people realize, because people's perception of who they are is in fact limited to here. They have no idea of what is beyond the physical body. Of course, they know a little bit about the brain, the mind, but what people generally think of what they are or what they exist of is what they see in the mirror. And that's only a very small part of the model. I mean, especially when you practice yoga and energy rises up to fuel the higher chakras, this part of your existence becomes more prominent. It also means that people who do not have energy rising up to fuel the higher levels of consciousness, that part is very gray, very dim. And people are also there just totally oblivious. They're totally not aware of higher levels of consciousness. Yoga practitioners become very aware that there is more than just this physical body. And this explains a little bit how far that goes. And it explains a little bit also the connection with the universe. In Buddhism, there is this concept that you have the concept of reincarnation. Your physical body dies and disintegrates into the soil, but your consciousness is indivisible and it's eternal. So after you die, your consciousness rises out of your body. Reincarnation means that at some point in time, depending on the karma that you possess, you will descend into another physical body. Your energy, your consciousness will descend into another physical body. And what determines that process is your karma. If you have large amounts of restless karma in you, your ascendance is very short-lived. You will return back into a physical body very quickly after having ascended from the previous body. While if you die in great peace, sattva, and your spirit is in peace, you stay up there a lot longer before you reincarnate again. And the story also is that the goal of life is to burn our karma through consciousness, learning from our mistakes so that we don't create new karma anymore, eventually leading to the liberation of this cycle of reincarnation. According to Buddhism, life is a valley of tears. We have to suffer through it. We want to end that cycle. And you end that cycle by eventually reaching liberation. Liberation from karma. Then your spirit rises up and stays up there. A concept that I explained when reading the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, where a sutra told us about the saints, the holy spirits that have roamed the earth but are now up there. Moving about the universe is what it literally said. Yeah, that is basically the whole purpose of spiritual practice, yoga, Buddhism, but basically whatever culture or religion, it all comes down to the same concept. And that is also the reason why we have yamas and niyamas, to reduce karma. In practice, you can see this at work. There's a very interesting phenomenon, is that in times of war, you always see a baby boom after the war. And demographers will have certain practical explanations for that have nothing to do with philosophy. But our view is that war creates so much turmoil, so much karma, that it leads to, there's so much death and destruction, so many spirits that ascended from people that were violently taken out of this life, whose lives were very violently and abruptly ended. So there's lots of restless spirits that all come down to possess another physical body. You can also see that countries that are at peace for a very long time, extended period of time, stable, sattva in terms of yoga, harmonious, they have problems with maintaining the population. So there is, instead of a baby boom, there is a shortage of babies being born, a situation that you see in all developed countries. It's a very interesting and mind-boggling, actually. Scientists, demographers, they probably don't agree with this kind of view. But if you look at how this works, how karma causes restless spirits to reincarnate quickly after having ascended, while people who die in peace as a result of old age, in relative harmony, their spirit will ascend and stay up there much longer before it starts to steer again and feeling the need to manifest. It's a very plausible explanation, actually, and from my view, making very much sense, actually. Questions about this? No? Okay. Then let's move on to asana practice.